We're live, and I'm here today to talk to you about how Prove I Wanted You came to be and to show you the production. This song was actually inspired by a conversation that I had with my buddy Zane, who's the head founder of Valiant, and he sent me this track by these dudes, Lee Matthews, Inside Out, featuring Watson. Loved it, and it really hit me, and he was like, yeah, mate, I like the music that you've been doing recently, but if you could just like do your thing on drum and bass, that would be sick. But anyway, so yeah, I then made this track, and how that started was the drums. So this started the whole main idea, and then I just started layering drums on top of that, some percussion, little like pin drop noises, resampled that, and then did more stuff to that, pitched it differently with some rock drums, and then started adding in the kick and the snare. Ooh. There we go, and we got a nice little groove. A lot of my songs start melody first with some chords, and drums usually come last, but then I find I end up kind of in a box, whereas if I start with the drums, writing the melodies to those drums seem to always work out a little bit better if added in the big songs. After I came up with this main loop, I started to think about what the other parts of the song would be like, so I stripped it down here, you know, made it very sparse, kind of brought it in a little bit here, just the groove but no kick or snare yet, kind of another type of like wood block instead as a snare, and then we have the build. This tambourine here is what's giving it that tension feeling. It's in beats mode, so it's giving it sort of a, let's see if we can solo that, a transposition over time, and that's creating that rising effect. And I didn't know yet exactly what musically would be going here, honestly. I just knew that a build should have those components of less than the drop or the chorus, having the chorus have more of that impact and more of the mids filtered out. But that's the first project file. We'll go take a look at the next one now. So here we are in the first version of the mumble melodies.
The people I trust for days in a while. I'm here to live up to wait by. The people I trust for days in a while.
This part.
No. No.
Just that cool little melody, main hook idea. Let's see what this is.
Don't wait for long.
Oh, that was the beginning. Gotta say, feel your touch. Oh no, I know the truth. That's that part. And then let's see what this is.
I don't wanna wait for my yourselves. I don't wanna wait for my loves. I don't wanna wait for my let dust and fall. I don't wanna wait for my let show. I don't wanna let my love alone. I don't wanna wait for love myself.
Alright, so there you go. You kind of see this is one of many weird things that I do. I just kind of will copy the song to the left perpetually until I come up with a version that I like, but that way I can preserve the same arrangement and possible variations.
I'm done, say bye.
Ooh.
I need a hand up, I pray fly.
That's cool. Some of this makes me mad when I listen to it, and I'm like, that was cooler. That's the tricky part with this process, you know? Especially when you're trying to finish a song in a matter of days, sometimes you don't have the perspective, you know? You try a bunch of ideas. If you're doing it by yourself, like I was in this specific song case, and you don't have the perspective or the feedback until much later, it's hard to be unbiased about certain things. But when I listen to this now, I have a completely different feeling and almost a completely different interpretation of the track. I really think it can be a fun part of the process to turn over every stone like this and try a bunch of different ideas. And sometimes you don't get the right collection at the end, but at least you looked in new places, pushed yourself a little more. Vocals are an extremely different process for me for every single song. Some songs I do in Logic Pro and mix them in Logic Pro, export them as stems and bring them into Ableton. Some songs I record in Logic Pro and bring it into Ableton and mix it in Ableton. Some songs I record in Ableton and mix in Ableton, and that's what this is. Normally songs of mine take months and I come back to it at various intervals, and so in that time I have a time to create the Logic profile and the headspace to kind of prep the session the way I like with my reverbs and all that. But in this case it just came out, so we did it in Ableton. I'm going to be very vulnerable with you guys. This is without, but everybody should know what you can do these days with technology, and we're going to walk through the secret sauce. Don't judge me. Hope you still love me.
Stuck breaking the cycle.
Let's even turn off the reverbs. We're going to go from completely dry.
Stuck breaking the cycle. With the people I trust, spend days in the wild. You've been testing my luck, don't say that it's final.
It's not bad. I feel a lot better about it than I thought I was. So that's my mic coming in completely dry, and then add my chain on, the magic.
Stuck breaking the cycle.
Cool. And then you bring in the reverbs and you get even more magic.
Stuck breaking the cycle.
So let's walk through what everything is doing in this vocal chain. So we have a debreather here, takes out the breath. We got the Arvox, it's gating out the material before it's hitting the pitch correction. And I'm compressing it a little bit as well. So just cleaning it up, coming into the pitch correction, more gate to cut out any excess noise. This is for my mic just to get rid of some really annoying frequencies and the harshness. De-esser immediately for me, just like don't like harsh S's. Another gate, really want that noise out of there, I guess. Compressor, 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 EQ compressor, saturation in the mid area there, and then we got this Golfos, the secret sauce, a little smart EQ, pretty cool.
With the people I trust, spend days in the wild.
Another de-esser. This is set to spectral mode, so it really captures those annoying ones, but it doesn't touch the rest of the vocal.
I'm not giving us up.
EQ, vocal lead preset in FabFilter Pro Q3, gives it this nice little airy boost. Final limiter.
I knew the truth, so I'll wait for you, love. I'll prove I wanted you.
So, now that you know the basics of the vocal chain, basically all I'm doing is processing everything else differently to give it a different sound. So I'm using different chains. These ones are honestly older chains that I've since refined away from, but they do still have a cool sort of interesting texture. So I use them as backgrounds all the time and then just add guitar amps or stereo reverbs or something onto them.
You start breaking the cycle. With the people I trust, spend days in the wild. You've been testing my luck, don't say that it's final.
Yeah.
I'm not giving us up, I stay for the trials. No lie, love.
Cool. So those are the vocals. You got a bunch of different layers here. Let's pull them in one by one.
You breaking the cycle.
With the people I trust, spend
Days in the wild. Luck, don't say that it's final.
So this is really what inspired everything musically after putting in the bass line. There we go. Yeah, it was really just bass for a while, and then I made this guitar sound and then pitched it down and kind of came up with this weird pad pulsing thing. And that just felt like the right energy to me, especially with those drums. When I first came up with this, it was like, oh yeah, okay. Just simple, very, very not too complicated, but it fit the vocals so well, and Yeah, just kind of let it do that. Some really subtle chords. Kind of gives the bass a... There we go. The main pad. Then we got the drums. This is the resample of the percussion from that other session. I had to stem it out because they kept crashing and corrupting, so I wanted to preserve these drums just in case I couldn't get back into the file. Stomp, kind of building up now. And then just these are some impacts and risers that are outside of the bus, just so they're not compressed into the beat. That's really it. This beat was pretty simple with that percussion kind of merged and stemmed down into these stems from that last project file we were looking at. It really makes this pretty minimal. I was trying to just make it mainly about the vocals and focus on the lyrics and the melody. All right, I ended up cutting the percussion out for this pre because I wanted it to build throughout the song. So the second pre has that percussion that I designed with the rising slope. That's this one here. But I decided in the first chorus I just wanted it to completely break down to just that sort of synth, and that's it with the vocal. So that's here.
Can't erase, feel your touch. I knew.
And I dialed that really annoying metallic sound that we heard in the other session. Became this. That's one of my favorite sounds. It's just such a cool little pulse. And I basically just tuned it and got it on beats mode so that it would do that pulsing sound even more vividly, and then layered it with itself, kind of give it the lower octave. And the bass, of course. I think I flattened the instruments in this case because I knew that I wanted to do the vocal processing live all the way into the master session. I didn't want to commit. I'm a commitment phobe to freezing my vocals. All right, I'm hungry. I need a snack. Lunch break time. We'll be back. And we're live. Yeah, so you know that thing where you are like, oh, I'm going to go get a snack, and then you go get a snack and your whole life collapses into an existential crisis in the kitchen, and you take a nap and then wake up and realize you don't have the motivation to do anything for a few days? Yeah, me neither. So I had sent this song out for feedback at pretty close to this point. It was all mixed down, and two notes that kept coming back from pretty much everybody was the second drop needed some sort of lift, and then the outro needed background vocals. So originally it was just the lead in this outro section, this part,
Faith, breaking the cycle.
and it was kind of these cool same lo-fi drums.
Faith, breaking the cycle.
This percussion is really giving it the sound. I just basically resampled the snare bus, but without the other type of like consistent percussion in the piano. Just a little overdrive on there. I took this without any of the processing or reverb. And then, you know, I put it down an octave, resampled that, and then kind of did some stretching and brought in these chords.
You, faith, breaking the cycle.
Just kind of
Breaking the cycle. I got my hands up. Oh, I hate that it's prideful.
not even really fully doing the lyrics, just kind of feeling it.
Say that it's final.
The other layer.
Breaking the cycle. I got my hands up. Done. Hate that I'm prideful.
This is that piano running through a frequency shifter. I think re-pitched down again. Just a heart in contact with a bunch of EQ and distortion on it. yeah, so that's the second walkthrough. Thanks for bearing with me through my snack break and existential crisis, and I hope you'll tune in again for the next release. Peace.